This subject for this video is an exposed zipper. And on page 57 in your binder, you have this, which talks a lot about zippers. And it goes along with some other articles that I wrote in here too. And this is the way I submitted it for an exposed zipper. And then you see exposed zippers in a lot of the illustrations that I sent in. So it shows how you're going to have a turning cloth, and that should be usually a lightweight fabric, and you draw the lines on that material with the opening, the width that you wanted for exposing the zipper, whether that's just the teeth or the zipper tape. And then I put in another page in your binder, and I didn't write this part, but it's just about a zipper pocket, which is exactly the same, except in this case, you're letting one of the pocket sacks be turning the cloth. And then inside, you're closing up the pockets with just stitching around the two pocket sacks. It's fun. You've been given what you needed for creating this sample. And from the right side, you will put the organza that you were given, and you'll draw lines on it the width that you want to be exposed. And you might just want the teeth, or maybe you want it a little bit wider. I'm going to start it down from the very top of the organza, and I'll draw lines in that I think you'll be able to see. And I'm going to come down to the length of the zipper there. So right in the center, doesn't matter, but I'll start drawing some lines that are just about, probably about 3/8 of an inch long. Okay, now let me come over about 3/8. This could obviously be 1/4 also, just a little bit more narrow. But you're going to be stitching on these lines. So you do want them even in width and straight. So the right sides, and there's no right or wrong to the organza, so I don't have to think about that. Pin that in place. You can always be checking yourself to make sure that you have made it a length that you want and a width and everything. So here's my box. I'm on the right side, and I'm going to be just to the outside of that line that I drew, because now in thinking about it, I got to have a little bit more width to this turning cloth. I could press that flat the way it is, but I'll just move along. And it would be a good idea to press it, but I'm going to show you how you cut right in the middle, and then you cut very carefully in a triangle over to the corners. And because you're cutting so closely, you could have shortened the stitch, but I'm feeling pretty secure about the way I have it with standard stitch length. So now I will be going to the iron, and I'll be pressing this sharp against the stitching, the way I'm starting it with finger pressing. And I want this to all go to the wrong side. The organza has been pressed to the wrong side, and I make sure that I can see a little bit of the front of the garment. So that means that when I look at this side, I'm not going to be seeing organza. Now down here at the corner, it's hard to get this all pulled to where you don't see a little corner of white. But if you have a matching turning cloth, that's great. If I had a dark color, or I could put a little permanent marker in there and darken that. If it's black like this, then I place the zipper behind this opening, showing the amount that I want to show. And I could hand base this in place so that it's just right, or I can use my Scotch tape method, which can be to hold everything in place from the front side with the amount of width of the zipper I want to show. And it's a good idea to go ahead and basting, because let's face it, this tape might not hold it just perfectly. But if you baste, you're going to have to do slip basting, where the needle goes into the fold and then grabs a bit of the zipper there, because you can't baste on top of this with the method I'm going to show. However, you certainly could be top stitching this in place right now, right on the fold, and that would be easier and could be very effective also. In fact, really could look good with, a top stitching thread or a decorative stitch, lots of possibilities. So I'm fussing with this until I feel like I've got the equal amount of zipper showing. I'm going to lift the garment out of the way and expose this first seam here. Oh, this tape is not holding. Well, in that case, then let's put a pin or two here underneath where it's going to be stitched. There and here. I'll put the zipper tape, the zipper foot on. And as you can see, I definitely need to move the needle so that it's not going to hit the foot. And I'll be coming down this side, so let's pop the needle over to the far left. So I'm stitching pretty close, if not right on top of that first stitching. Probably directional stitching will be the best. So I'll stop and go down the other side. There is some chance that you could just go across the bottom and up the other side, but we'll do it this way. And the same direction could be wise, but I'm just going the way I have my zipper foot on, so it's not directional stitching. I have stitched here, and I've gone across the bottom also, for that triangle. And I'm pulling off the tape and seeing how much I have exposed there of the zipper. For this particular zipper, my turning cloth is this fabric, which you could do, at any time. You don't have to have organza that's going to be out of sight. Because my goal here is to have part of the show just for interest, almost like it's a piped opening. So, and you have to have it just on the side. You can't really have it there at the bottom. But if I press this carefully and just have this fabric, the plaid fabric, wrap around the seam allowance, and let's see, did you notice though that I had a wider stitching here and that I had cut the center out, so that now just this wrapping around creates just a little bit, and let's put some pins there to hold that. And this would get pressed, of course. It's just a straight, equal amount down the sides of the zipper. And fuss with this bottom so that it tucks in there nice and evenly. This soft cotton that I'm working with just feels so good, and it just wants to make this turn and stay there. It's so nice to work with fabrics that understand what you want instead of fighting you. So I would fuss to get that perfectly even and pressed, and then lay the zipper underneath here. like this. And then the best way to do this, after you get everything all settled and held in place, is to just stitch in the ditch. Stitch in the well of the seam there, and making sure you see an even amount of the piping all around. It's fun.